are we getting back to normal, or are we not?
Well, I think it's beyond the White House. I think all of us are desperately searching for some signs of reassurance. I mean, the fact that there was such joy at the news, which turned out, unfortunately, to be false, that they found 5 firefighters. When you look at what that news would have been had it been true, 5 lives saved, 5,000?
Yeah.
I was thinking that maybe reassurance isn't really what we need now. I was thinking of Winston Churchill, who we all know as the man who rallied Great Britain in its worst hour, and he once went on the radio and said to his people, "The news from France is very bad." And I think what he was saying was, I'm going to level with you and tell you the seriousness of the situation so that you will know when I ask of you to be brave and to do this, you will know that I'm telling you the truth. And I think this, if you look at what happened, not just Tuesday, a little more than 60 hours ago.
Yeah, a little bit.
But the fact that the stock markets have been closed since longer than in the Depression. We have, that we've evacuated the House and Senate. We need to face head on how rough this is.
The problem in part is, I don't want to suggest this is the problem, is that every time we say something, do something that says this is really big, really bad, really awful, we are in a sense saying they won.
Well, when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor and took out the Pacific Fleet, they won a battle. They knocked the United States flat on its back for a while. The important message then and now is to know that eventually this will not be permitted to stand. But they have, I said earlier tonight that I think it's really way past time we stop talking about this as a senseless act. From the perspective of the folks who did this, evil, yeah, monstrous, yeah, senseless, no. It was exactly what they wanted to do. And part of, I think, what a great nation has to do is to assess the fact that we have been hit in a way we have never been hit in our history. Because that's when you begin to measure what has to be done.
So we accept this horrible reality, which is not, in fact, it seems to me something in modern political times we do very comfortably. We don't, political leaders, at least not in the last 20 years or so, have not been much willing to say it's really bad.
They haven't had to. I mean, except for Oklahoma City, which was a 100. Part of what's gone on here is that a lot of, I think, the crises, when we talk about crises, they have been not real.
Yeah.
Even the Gulf War, which could have put many, many American service people at risk, turned out to be a walkover. And so we've had it very easy. I said to you 2 days ago on the roof, this may have been the day that America's luck ran out. That's something that we haven't had much experience facing. And we're telling each other everything is going to be different now. But I think it begins with a really honest assessment of what has happened. And what has happened, it's not something you can say, well, yes, we took a blow. This was something that's going to require something we have not asked of this country, literally, in 6 decades.
It's a very sobering way to look at this. Yeah.
But if
I'm not suggesting for a moment it's not the right way to look at it. It is just a kind of reality that I think we resist.
Well, of course we do, and that's why we look for reassurance in the possible story of people being saved and the good works that people are doing. But if we're if we're serious as a country about what has to be done, it begins by measuring what has happened. And a friend of mine who I saw yesterday said, I was looking to you for reassurance. And I said, well, I'll be glad to provide some. Eventually this country's going to prevail, but
not tomorrow. Thanks, Jeff. Senior analyst Jeff Greenfield joins us for a bit. We're about 4 minutes past 11 o'clock Eastern Time. Some of you may be tuning in, and we want to update you on where we have been and where we're headed now. Here are some of the latest developments this evening. Sources say at least 8 people are arrested at New York's Kennedy and LaGuardia airports. 4 of them were challenged at the gates or at the counters of one of the airports on the day of the hijackings. The suspects are in custody for, among other things, carrying false documents, including one man who was posing as a pilot. Officials trying to see if or how they might be connected to the tragedies of Tuesday. The president says the Pentagon says the president is considering activating reserve troops to relieve National Guard troops that have been patrolling U.S. airspace since Tuesday's terrorist attack. And in Manhattan, a city armory near Gramercy Park, is converted into a center for those who have been waiting for word on their loved ones. It is one of those places that will break your heart. Mayor Giuliani urges residents to have patience, with hundreds of New Yorkers pitching in as volunteers to help find the missing. And in a rare show of unity in Congress, the Congress has moved towards passing a $40 billion bill for recovery efforts and to combat terrorism in the country, and that is just a down payment, just a beginning. Search and rescue crews continue their search for survivors. Grieving relatives are pleading for information about their loved ones, and CNN's Maria Hinojosa has their story now.
Just 7 weeks ago, Anne McGovern posed with her new grandson minutes after he was born.
I've never seen her look so happy as when he was born. She was there. She was so excited.
But now her daughter Terry wants that smiling picture on television. Her mother worked on one of the top floors of the World Trade Center. Her daughter wonders if anyone has seen her alive.
We were interviewed by police detectives, and we had filled out a questionnaire, and it was really like, what jewelry would she have been wearing? Do you know what she had on? Did she have any identifying body marks?
Her sister Liz worked in the World Financial Center across the street, but managed to escape. She was supposed to meet her mother that day for lunch.
I was just about to call her, and I can't believe it. I don't think it's set in yet. I just feel so powerless, and I wish I could have done something.
That same awful feeling consumed an emergency center on Lexington Avenue, where authorities are compiling a list of the missing. It's become a place of public grieving and a place to hope for miracles.
He was on 104th floor, Cannon Fitzgerald. We've gone to hospitals. We've called every hotline. They don't know where we can't find him. He's not on any list. So
hope is the word, the emotion that keeps these people going. But that hope hits hard against the reality that thousands of body bags have already arrived into New York City.
Triage centers remain relatively quiet. The one at Stuyvesant
At a center for Mexican immigrants, 15 friends are confirmed dead so far. Radios are kept on in hopes there'll be word of hundreds of others, immigrants from Mexico who labored in the Twin Towers, hoping to make a better life.
In my heart, I feel that I'm crying.
But there is not much concrete news for these people today, just fears for the worst.
My mother was so excited that my son was born. She was there at the birth 7 weeks ago, and he's not going to know her.
And so there's resignation. Maria Hinojosa, CNN, New York.
When we began this program an hour or so ago, we began with a report from correspondent Gary Tuchman down at Ground Zero, and he had some extraordinary pictures of Ground Zero. Really, some of the most dramatic pictures of the area we've seen. Gary is now back with us and has the engineer who shot those pictures, which will allow us to find out more about what the engineer saw and allow you to see those pictures again. Gary?
Well, that's right. The engineer's name is Rob Matthews. He's actually an urban planner. That's his day job. But for the first couple of days of this rescue and recovery operation, he went out to help volunteer. And he had a camera with him. And today he took his camera and he took pictures that offer a perspective that you haven't seen before tonight. Rob, what we're going to do is we're going to start rolling the pictures right now. We're going to give you a look at the pictures. You can tell us about what you shot. But you were actually in a building next to the World Trade Center, which is called the World Financial Center Complex. And tell us what we're looking at right now.
Inside now we're looking at the 22nd floor on the east facade of number 2 World Financial Center.
Now this is right across the street from the World Trade Center. This was a building that the plane did not crash into, but this is the damage you see.
Exactly. This was the shock wave that burst through the windows, blew the debris inside, and this is a view down directly into the hold, directly into Ground Zero from the 22nd floor of the World Financial Center.
Now we've had some pictures from the ground, but the news media is not given the access that a guy like you who volunteered has gotten, and that's why it's the first time we've seen that shot from the top, and it really shows you just how huge that hole is. But I'm very surprised at all the damage inside this building across the street from the World Trade Center.
Well, the whole eastern facade of this building was blown off, the glass at least, and from the shockwave. And there's a piece of World Financial Center number 1, the American Express building, as tower number 1 toppled over, it took out a little piece of the southeast corner.
And that's one thing we want to say, that American Express building is one of the buildings they're fearful could possibly come down. Thank you very much for joining us, Rob. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
The search continues tonight, but they expect rain to come down, and that could be a major problem as they continue to look for victims. Back to you, Eric.
Gary, thank you. No matter how many times we see those pictures, they remain extraordinary. We want to try something here. We'll see if this works. So many events, virtually all events, public gatherings, large group gatherings have been canceled since Tuesday. Football games won't go on. In Los Angeles, Hollywood Bowl tonight, a Wynton Marsalis concert is going on. And if our timing is right, we will listen in at just the right moment. Bear with us for a moment. We're going to get there. Again, this is a Wynton Marsalis concert at the Hollywood Bowl outside in Los Angeles. We don't know how many people. Something we used to know. We don't know how many people are at the Hollywood Bowl tonight. We imagine that it was quite an emotional gathering when people arrived there. People have been glued to their TVs, haven't gotten out much. Marsalis moment, and a moment for the people who are there. A portion of the proceeds of the concert tonight will go to the American Red Cross. That was nice, wasn't it?
I want to tell you how appropriate it was for us to play that anthem.
Wouldn't argue with that one bit. Back to the other side of all of this, there have been so many lives lost. There are an estimated, I think 4,700 some still missing here in New York. So many stories. CNN's Peter Viles has the story of one New York company's devastating loss.
It is the saddest vigil you can imagine. Scott Hazelcorn's parents.
It's not even revenge. I mean, I just want to hear my son's voice.
Members of Junku Kang's church.
We all pray every night.
John Perconti's wife, expecting their child in December.
He called me at 10 to 9 and said, our building has just been hit by a plane, turn on the news. And I changed the channel and I saw what happened. And I said, oh God, John, please get out of there safely. And he said, I love you, I have to go.
What links these stories is that all the missing worked at Cantor Fitzgerald, all above the 100th floor of the North Tower, the first one hit. Cantor is not a glamorous firm, but it is crucial, one of the world's largest bond trading firms. 1,000 people worked up there, fewer than 300 are accounted for, but it is not clear any of those now safe were on the top floors Tuesday morning.
I don't think anybody got out at this point, but we pray for miracles.
Scott Hazelcorn's parents suspect that their son did not run for his life.
He didn't care about himself. He only cared about his friends.
If Scott was there and he was getting out, he'd probably help everybody out in front of him. That's the kind of kid he was.
They gather at a city-designated center for relatives of the